Alrighty, here we go. Wait for everything to kick in. It takes a bit for things to sort of catch up server side, but I get a notification from Wisebot that says live online when it's actually time to start the stream. But if this is in fact recording properly and streaming properly, even though I can't see it on my software yet, welcome. I'm pretty excited about this beginner's guide. If we can just get it to work. There we go. Okay. Let's try again. Once more with feeling. And fewer disconnects. Okay, we already ran through the options. It's a real basic WASD left mouse controls. I set up the graphics. We don't really need to see that. I did turn on closed captions. Let me make sure that persisted. It did. Very good. Let's begin the game one more time. Please make sure audio is on. Of course. Controls. WASD, left mouse. Doesn't get simpler than that.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing the Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town,
Remember Counter-Strike?
Scatters
I remember.
colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder.
Hi, Tara. I'm doing great.
You know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com.
Tara, this is the absolute very beginning.
Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Whisper machine status active. Evacuate immediately.
Warning. Whisper machine active. Shift to structure imminent.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Security call reached. Hostile alien life form inbound.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin ship evacuation.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from Apparently, this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it. Or, if you'd really like to solve the labyrinth, you're welcome to do that too.
Yes, thank you, Davey. Don't deny me content, Davey.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the Whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the Whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead. beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for them. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
Still November 2008. The past was behind her.
Yep, in this game you can only walk backwards.
But the future
it's a
cannot be
short
seen.
and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than
Keep
the
changing?
previous game, but actually it seems
Why
to
does
be
the future
more
keep
focused,
changing?
more complete. Code is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
When she stops and looks, it becomes clearer. But if the future is always behind her, how will she find the strength to confront it?
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Still November 2008. You are now entering...
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
December 2008. Nonsense in nearly every
Oftentimes, Coda puts
direction.
bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games. I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do? Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Nah. We'll go slow. I'm cool with that. That's an excellent question. I had leftover pizza, so I clearly don't have the greatest advice on this subject. Nonsense in nearly every direction. That was the title of this one, right? I'm experiencing this game the way Coda intended it to be experienced. Except, I guess he never intended them to be experienced by anyone. If Coda's even a real person and not just an alter ego of Davies, I don't know that either. Almost there. I paused the game so we didn't miss anything. Whoa. Game filled with chairs except one chair is floating.
It's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
I live on a boat taking orders from the captain. The captain is always wrong. A stranger
Coda would often
appears.
tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
You must address and rally a group of eager press reporters. A game of only posters and concept art showing what the game is intended to be. January 2009. Ready, set, fish. One second. Yeah, I see the dropped frames notification. My hope is that's just from when we disconnected. Ready, set, fish is the name of this game. We're up to January 2009.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it. Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna see it a lot. So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world.
It's still telling me we're dropping frames. I have no idea why. There's no fucking reason we should be. Sorry.
Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
Aha! Said we would come back here. You are now exiting.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
The Great and Lovely Descent.
Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development. To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly.
The streetwise
One
fool.
of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors.
Jesus Christ, we're still dropping frames. Why? The internet connection is fine. I'm getting frustrated.
That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Huh. Taco Bell is always an excellent choice. Well done, Tara. We are still dropping frames. Why? The percentage is dropping, at least, but still. There's nothing competing for bandwidth, and the connection is fine. Why are we dropping frames? I don't understand. Alright, so we started at a bar. Now we're here.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go.
Yikes.
If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that. This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games.
It's still notifying me of dropped frames, but the percentage is dropping. It went from 66 to 59 to 40 to 29. So maybe things are stabilizing.
That was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't. It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time. There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
You there, did you come from up
Here,
above?
Coda
What was
is
up
using
there?
a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
Yes, there was an enormous prison I spent hours in. Yes, there was a world stamped with whiteness. We'll start at the top. That's the world above. You've been there. Now this is important. Did you have to get through a puzzle with 2 doors and switches? Yes, I did. That was literally the last thing I did before coming here. Again, perfect. Now please tell us how you solved it. Tell us the solution. Tell us how to get to the other side. Huh. Hold on, it's another dropped frames notification, but the percentage is still down from 29 to 25. I don't remember how I solved it. I'm trying to remember, but I can't. You must think harder, please. Try hard to remember. It's so important that we get out of here. We must escape this prison. Can you think harder? There must be something more. Please, tell us how to reach the end. Hello, how did you get here? Was there a puzzle you had to pass through? Yes, do you want to know how to solve it? No, we actually find the black space between the doors to be far more interesting. Have you seen it yet? Actually, now that you mention it, I remember feeling strange as I passed through it. Don't think too hard about it. You'll see it again soon.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level. It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
Interesting. Color me excited. April 2009. This game is connected to the internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. All notes you see are left by other players. Nice room, not?
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're gonna see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually.
How do you beat this game? No point to this. Ha! Wow. Whoa, holy shit. Can you guys hear me? Hello.
Feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them.
Everyone read this.
Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness.
Hey!
I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
This place makes me sad. I know, but I just want to see what Coda says.
It's ironic, isn't it? That in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. This is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
I want to tell you a secret. Once upon a time I did. Define fun. I'm king of the world. Balls. That's a good one. How is there wood and grass and concrete here? What the fuck? Brrr, snow. Do not be afraid. Do care. This game is no nice. I would like it when I could. Do you feel like a hero yet? Someone's a fan of Spec Ops! In a world full of notes, one man will read all of them. This summer, you will believe blue speech bubbles can talk. There are too many messages in this area. Why? Hey, I can type here. The guy over there wrote much wrong. I'd rather be doing literally anything other than playing this. We're running out of space. Soon we will suffocate. Cool cavern, bro. I just saw a flying penguin. Let me tell you, it was the most majestic thing I have ever seen. I don't feel like living because nothing will ever be as majestic as that. I never want to see again if nothing will ever be that beautiful again. I am crying now and plan on ripping my eyes out. I must go now to do that. What the shit is this cavern? Boring. I can assure you guaranteed that there is an acorn somewhere here in this place, and the sailors are looking for it. Hey guys, just looking for someone to talk with. I refuse to believe. Butt-ass butt. That's another good one. I need to go to the frickin' bathroom. Recognize me, please. There's nothing here. Go back. Don't listen to that guy. A free t-shirt! No, I don't know if you heard Davey say that all these notes were, of course, actually written by Coda, because the game isn't connected to the internet. Makes game, includes door, cannot open door. Thanks. Open sesame. Door how open. Need other side, door why you so. Someday I will meet the person who made this. I help people because of the internal good feeling I get. Oh, wow. New room! Do you hear the chimes? They keep you going, don't they? I would like very much to be desired. It's not very crowded here. Scared of writing something, don't want to feel judged. A game where you leave notes and suddenly everyone's a poet. Don't bother. You can go in here, I think. Welcome, congratulations, I don't really know where to go with this. This is where I get off. I failed to write anything here. I am compelled. Stop, turn back, proceeding further will only result in misery. Take my hand, let's jump together. Cabbage shapes our nation. What is that painting? It does not matter if you ever get over there. Hey, don't talk about me that way. Very good game. I think this is not going anywhere. Next time I will do better. I need someone to talk to. This is a note? Don't listen to the other notes. I'm not safe. Stop faking it. Today I learned you cannot fall off. Ethical. I saw a person walking down there, now it won't come back. Devil Tower Star. Well done, all of you. Painting, what does it mean? Whoever made this has issues. Art. Hey guys, how's it going? Just hanging. I think it's about how things look messy from up close and perfect from far away. From up here it just looks like dots. Cabbage shapes our nation. Who are all of you? We will all die someday. Spoilers, it doesn't mean anything. Stop pretending you are other people. It's about how this game is pretentious and you all suck. Devil Tower Star. Maybe I'll feel real someday. He was himself the most horrible creature he could imagine. Well, I'm here now. Yeah, we're all here now. There must be a reason for it, though. His terrible secret, he kept it well. I beat the game! More room?
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one.
Scared of writing something, don't want to feel judged. Escape, escape, need an escape. He cut it up and spread it between worlds. Almost there. I have seen everything. I have traveled the world. I have never told anyone. I wish there were notes in the real world. Become one with the spiraling nonsense. Down downward. Keep
In
digging.
each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Koda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on.
You close your eyes and wish for it really bad. Almost at the end. Does this puzzle have a solution? Oh my god, I have been here for literally an hour. What the fuck do I do? Help! Help! Shit, how do you solve it? This doesn't make sense. The second door won't open. Developer, answers please?
And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture.
I'm heading back to the start. Later, guys. Guys, it's not so bad in here. No answer, I think? There is no second switch. No solution. How do you leave notes? Wow. Are you there? Please say something. It can be anything. I just need you to say something. Talk to me, please. Why are you having so much difficulty talking? Speak, 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 speak. Hang on a minute, my girlfriend's calling me. Sorry. Oh. Hi, baby. What's up? Oh, I'm in the middle of the stream. What are you doing? Oh. Yeah. What's you doing? Are you gonna be awake for a while? Or are you heading to bed? Oh. Well, yeah, sure. This game's only supposed to be an hour and a half. Yeah, the game's only supposed to be 90 minutes long, and I'm already about an hour into it, so that shouldn't be long. Oh, it really looked lovely. Well, I'll circle back with you when the stream's over. If you're asleep, have a lovely night, and I'll talk to you in the morning. If you're awake, I'll say good night. I love you again, because I do love you, and love you. Good night. Bye. Sorry about that. Not a phone call you want to ignore, but we're on Chapter 8, Notes, April 2009. Alright, let us continue. Hang on a second. Alright. Speak, 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 speak! Loading, May through June 2009. Porn stars die too.
Okay, this one is tough. It's gonna kinda just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it. See, like, this is it. The whole game. And there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Koda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's gonna start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool. Here's version 2.
What furniture ought to go in the center of the room? How about a TV with surround sound? Okay, now what about along the wall of the room? Let's put a huge picture of a horse. Ha! It's not listening to me. I think we should light up this room a bit. A skylight, full ceiling window. Let's open this baby up. Huh. And a table. You need a table. I'm pretty sure none of my choices are making any difference.
There's a bit more to this one, but still it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake. So okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
Hello, please walk forward. This guide will enable you to escape any prison environment. Follow the instructions carefully. Take care that you remember each step. First, click on this table. Good. Go over to the photo frame and click to turn it slightly. Now turn the floor lamp in this room off, then turn it back on. Now go to the left side sofa. Move it over a little. Finally, touch the shelves. That's it. In a real prison, the escape will now open. Return to the start to be taken back to your prison. Huh. Return.
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside. Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this. To see a person basically unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working? But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop. That particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going, and then he hits on something. And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created. And the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
Tara, that's horrible and hilarious. Can't. We can't see. Okay. Whew. Hello? Who is this? Hey, it's me. I'm you from after you escaped the prison. You're me? So you were trapped in this prison too?
It's a conversation. And so this is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows. But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
Awesome, Tara. Enjoy. Yep, I was in the furniture maze. That's where I am right now. Oh, I'm so glad to know that I get out eventually. What's it like to escape? It feels like being completely still and wildly in motion at the same time. Do you feel any different? Sometimes I'm scared I'll get out and then things will be exactly the same as before. No, I'm really the same person now as I was back then. Oh no, that's awful. That's the worst thing I can imagine. The problem is that you don't actually know who you are right now. Wait, if you're me, then did you get a call from another version of you when you were trapped? No, I think I'm the first person to call back. Yes, I did get a call. That's how I escaped. What did they tell you? What did you have to do to get out? They just talked to me for a while. What? That freed you? How does that work? Just talk to me. Okay, I can talk. Let's just talk for a bit. Will you be here? I will be here for as long as you need. I like that one.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay. Wouldn't that be nice?
August 2009.
So what would it look like if Coda wanted to make a game about talking to someone other than himself? To me, this environment is meant to represent Coda's puzzle, with the two doors on either side and a dark transitional space between.
Clean. Well, my goodness, I'm glad as all heck that you showed up. Thought I might be having to clean this entire house all by myself, and right miserable that would have been. Everyone knows lonesome hands make lousy homes. Are we cleaning this whole place?
The quality of the art is a step up from previous games, including this new and improved chat system, which he started using from this point on.
Sorry guys, I realized there was another disconnect. It's really infuriating me that this just keeps happening for no reason. Continue. Clear the table. Much nicer, that's the table I want to see. Now would you please run into the bedroom and make the bed? Make the bed. While you're in there, why don't you straighten out the rug a bit? All the little details matter. Do you enjoy being a house cleaner? Well, I don't enjoy it so much as I need it. While I'm working, I feel a kind of calm that rests in the pit of my ribcage. My soul just can't be soothed any other way, it seems, which I guess is about all that matters. Oh, that and a tidy couch. Would you straighten the pillows on the sofa out here? Arrange the pillows. Oh dear, looks like someone spilled a drink over by the couch. Maybe mop that up as long as you're over there. Clean this spill. I feel compelled to share an incredibly cheesy personal insight. You okay with that? Make it especially cheesy. No. No, it was stupid. Sorry. Never mind. Hey, these dishes need to be washed. Why don't you come do that? Wash the dishes. Last I checked, the tub needed a cleaning. How about you scrub it down as best as you can? No need to be perfect, we're all just human. Are there still books scattered on the floor of the bedroom? If so, would you put them back on the shelf? Organize the shelves. Perfect. Now then, how about you come and clear these dishes off the table?
After the intense set of prison games, this house cleaning level almost feels like cleansing. It's the moment after a particularly difficult or traumatic experience where you just need to let it sit and digest inside of you, and eventually cohere into something meaningful.
Clear the table. House cleaning is so difficult. How do you do it? Darling, let me tell you something. Your house is only as difficult to clean as you are. If you're finding the work hard, maybe you have a bit of housekeeping to do before you come to work. Ha! And here I go with another lecture. Of course I would. Don't you worry about all that nonsense. For now, just smooth out the rug in the bedroom.
This game. Of all of his work, actually, this was the only one that he called me up to ask me to come over and look at it. This was during a period of a few months where he was, like, grossly happy all the time. Just walked around with a constant smile on his face.
Straighten out the rug. Looks like the tub has gotten rather dirty. Would you mind tidying it up a bit? That's a good question, Tara. I don't know what we mopped it up with. Scrub the tub. Earlier, when I said I had a really cheesy thought, I was going to say that it occurs to me that one's house is a lot like one's soul. You take care of it, and it takes care of you. Heh. Don't know why I felt so weird about saying that. But there's a bit of truth in it, no? Anyway. So. Housekeeping. Let's keep doing this. Books. Would you please clean up the books? Thanks. Organize the shelves. Oh goodness, those pillows over on the couch are a real mess.
I'm glad he made this. I'm glad he found some peace.
Would you go over and straighten them up a bit? Can't have these folks coming home to a messy couch. Arrange the pillows. Question.
But, of course, it can't last.
Do you enjoy this?
Music stops, your companion is gone, it's time to leave. The door at the top of the hill is now open as well. Again, you can't stay in the dark space for too long. You just can't. You have to keep moving. It's how you stay alive.
Yeah, that was abrupt, but effective. I don't know if this is going to be any good for YouTube with all these interruptions. I might have to replay it eventually. Lamppost.
Which is the whole point of the puzzle doors, right? That sooner or later you have to pick up and move. I really thought that was the point of it.
September 2009. Items you love at members-only prices.
It's a bit goofy.
Why did you come here today? Was it to improve your life? Was it to get a better job? Was it to make your relationships more meaningful? No. You came here to become perfect. This workshop is going to teach you how to be perfect. I want your friends, the people in your life, to look at you and think, wow, this person is a better human being than I am. Right now, who do you think about that way in your own life? Who do you know who is so well developed as a person that they make you feel disgusted with yourself, compared to whom you feel useless, selfish, ungrateful? I intend to make you into that person. Perfection is within your grasp. And the question is not how do we do it, but how do we do it effortlessly? This is easy. It is so easy. It is so easy.
About halfway through the game,
Being perfect is effortless. Whoa. This is
play
the...
as the teacher. And suddenly, you discover that your teacher is just as bigoted and afraid as you are. Oh, and also you can move around the classroom now.
This is the key. How do I achieve it with no effort? The grayed out ones were kids shouldn't follow their dreams, and on the way home, on the way to work, I told an elderly person to contribute to society. Grayed out here, I still love you, it's just that you make me feel cold on the inside. Being alone must be awful. And what we can say is, well, let me tell you right now, if it isn't effortless, then it's not the right answer. Grayed out. Thank goodness all of you perceive me as being wise and intelligent. Drinking is not hurting my life. Number 3. If you are torturing yourself trying to find the right solutions for your life, you're not doing it right. Grayed out. Do you understand that you won't be happy until you love me? This is for you. Ew, I'm developing a cyst. Gross. The one we can say. Seek out only one thing. What is the easiest, simplest path forward? Grayed out. Ha ha ha, just kidding. Anyone want to do some ecstasy after this? There is no truth, there is no path. Grayed out. What if I'm not a good teacher? Holy shit, you guys, something is coming out of the back of the room. Look out. And what we can say, do what is easiest, do what is simplest, feel what is true. Grayed out. It's coming for you. It's going to destroy you. Everyone run. Run. Nothing. No one.
I felt pretty hard for this one. I feel like it's one of the most relatable experiences that you can have. To assume that some other person is perfect and totally fulfilled in every way, and completely miss all of the little flaws that make them painfully human.
Perfection, perfection, perfection. No, this doesn't require multiple playthroughs, Tara. It's I mean, you can play it as many times as you want, but it's a one shot.
The others for Coda to make. It was 4 months between this and the last one. That's twice as long as it took him to make any other game before this, and it's not like it's particularly complex, so I remember I found that a little strange at the time.
Stage. Stage. Okay, can't use the ladder. And check out all the backstage before I go out there. Alright, well, to the stage we go. Alright, the performance is beginning. Places, please. In this scene, you will be playing as me. We are at a gathering of professionals. First, you'll start out leaning against this wall. Good, stay right there. The woman across the room in this chair is a professional photographer of animals. It's your dream to photograph animals professionally. This is your one chance to learn something from her, to gain something, to succeed. Go on, say something to her. Hello. Hello? That's it? That's not a conversation. Wise, happy, focused, successful. You need to actually converse with her. Be a human being. Do it again. I'm super scared right now. No, that's not what I said to her at all. You're completely missing the tone of the conversation. I was reserved, but I knew what I wanted. I was confident. For some reason it was just that one moment, but I was confident. Maybe it's that you need a better feel of the setting. There were a lot of people around us. I'll give you some props to work with. These cones that bounce when you touch them will represent the people nearby. Now talk to her again. You must have worked really hard to get where you are. I'll bet you've learned to lean into the pain. What are some sacrifices you've had to make? You're messing it all up again. You'll freak her out if the conversation gets that personal that quickly. Do you not realize how important this was for me? I'll never get another opportunity like this again. Everything was riding on this. I want to try something. Try stepping back from the stage. Ah, the lamppost. Okay, yes, now this is working. This is what it was like.
This eerie premonition of what's going to happen next in Coda's life. The solution to social anxiety.
That's perfect. Wonderful. This is really wonderful.
Success. The answer for Coda is to withdraw, to hide himself away. Which is what leads to scenarios like the stairs that slowed you down several games ago, where it just becomes harder and harder to access
You're doing great.
the inner landscape because he keeps retreating. He just keeps backing away from possible connections to anyone other than himself. And to be honest, I didn't consider it very healthy when I first played this. You know, it looked to me like he was trying to justify the idea of just disconnecting yourself from the world. And that wasn't what I wanted for him or for his games. Because I feel like a lot of his games are inviting me to connect with this person, to bring him closer. But what can you do? After this, Coda went off and took another 5 months to make a new game.
Loading June 2010. Mobius trip. To play this game properly, you must keep your eyes closed. Click to begin the game. I'm not doing that. Blind. What's going on? Blind. Captain, what can we do? Something enormous just appeared on the radar. Can we do anything? Why did I go blind? I can't see. Help, I'm blind. I don't know yet. I'm trying to find the shields. And then my vision suddenly went black. There's a giant door, and then my vision went black. Please, someone talk to me. Am I going to be killed by a giant door? I hope we don't have a red shirt. What's going on? Help, I can't see anything.
You should probably open your eyes if you haven't already. It's pretty much impossible to solve otherwise. And there is a solution, by the way.
SS Whisper. The only way to stop it is to speak something that is honest. I can't keep making these. Yes, that's it. That's the truth. It's draining me.
I was getting concerned. First off, he's never been this explicit in his work about exactly what he's thinking. So where's that coming from? But then even weirder, his work has potentially stopped being an outlet for him. Not like he's having trouble iterating on ideas, but he literally just can't think of new ideas anymore. And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing. Here was the point in my relationship with Coda where I really started to wonder if he needed my help in some way.
I'm out of ideas. Keep going. Keep talking. I can't figure out how to say the thing. I haven't been honest. You're doing it. It's working. I'm alone. I'm stuck in it. I have to work harder. Stuck in it. We're going to be okay.
His games are going to get more desperate from here on out. After this game, it's almost 6 months before he finishes something new.
December 2010. Hello? Where am I? What is this? Hello? Where did this island come from? How do I get out of here? Hello, is anyone there? Is that a person? How lovely. It's been a long time since I talked to anyone. What's wrong? You look lost. I'm completely out of ideas. When I try to create, I feel empty. I have nothing left to give to my work. Oh no. What's happened? Did something change? There was a machine that kept me going and it stopped. I'm trying to find this engine that used to protect me to start it again. Wait, you're looking for a machine? I think I know where it is. It isn't far. What? You have to take me to it. I need to see it, to know why it stopped. I can take you to it, but there's a problem.
The last game featured Coda talking explicitly about his creative frustrations. This one turns it up to 11. Put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle, frustration, anxiety, depression, even. And yet, still, he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for?
I can take you to it, but there's a problem. It's guarded by a difficult puzzle. If you can help me solve the puzzle, we'll find the machine. Deal? It doesn't matter what I say, does it? We're going to end up there one way or another, right? Deal. Haha. Perfect. Come along, I'll show it to you.
Because from my perspective at the time, and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself on.
Here's the puzzle. What do you think? Hey, I recognize this. I've solved this puzzle before. This is easy. Oh, wonderful. Can you tell me how to do it? First, you have to open the door. Okay, now what? Now you have to close the first door. Alright, what's next? Now just press the switch here. Ha! That was so simple.
You can't talk yourself out of loneliness. It doesn't work that way.
I can't believe I never solved it before this.
One writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all of your anxieties are being channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash.
Hello? Deal. I've solved this puzzle before. I need to see it to know why it stopped. Hello, is anyone there? I have nothing left to give to my work. I'm trying to find this engine that used to protect me, to start it again. Okay, here we are. There's no machine here. These are just words on some walls. Trust me, you'll see. You have to say that your work is fun and easy. You have to say that game development is simple and joyous and that you love it 100% of the time. Okay, making games is simple. Sure, making games is easy. Alright, making games is effortless. Ah, that feels wonderful. I get it, that's a weird thing to say to someone you just met. You have to open, there's no machine here. No, I don't remember having to go through any puzzle. Yes, there was a world stamped with whiteness. But it wasn't true. Why did the walls just crumble? Why did I feel so awful when I said that? But it wasn't true. Don't worry about it, just keep talking. Keep saying that creation is easy. When I make games, I feel completely energized. I am constantly excited and enthusiastic about my work. It is easy, it never stops being easy. Yes, that's wonderful. Keep going.
Seeing this game at the time that he made it, it looked really unhealthy to me. I was watching him do this to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so trapped. It's like, video games are not worth this amount of suffering.
Press the switch here. Hey, it's me, I'm you, from after you escaped the prison. Yes, there was these floating colored blocks. Don't worry about me, a place this nice, I'll be glad to stay here all night, close the first door. Every time I make something, I feel better about myself. Just never stop creating and you'll never feel bad. It's such a simple solution. Perfect. That feels fantastic.
That's all I really cared about. And I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create. For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this, it was the worst thing for me.
Okay, making games is simple. What if I'm not a good teacher? Help, I'm blind. There are other ways in and out. How about a TV with surround sound? Yes, I did get a call. That's how I escaped. Trust me, you don't want to go over there. I can't figure out how to say the thing. Here are all of my hopes and dreams. Yep, I was in the escape tutorial. What are some sacrifices you've had to make? It's been a long time since I've seen a house this messy. Hi, Zippy. Good to see you, friend. How you doing? Welcome, welcome. None of this is helping. I'm going to vomit. Please, where's the machine? None of this is helping. Patience. You have to trust me. I promise this will work. Please, continue. Pain breezes effortlessly off me. Any sacrifices made for my work are worth it 100% of the time. It always pays off eventually. That sounds great, Zippy. This is actually my second stream today. I played through Journey this afternoon for the first time, and now I'm doing the beginner's guide also the first time. It always pays off eventually. Yes. More. Keep going.
I don't know. This is what I felt at the time. I don't know how else to explain it. I wanted it to stop more than anything. I had never felt so rotten. I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop.
Sorry I have to leave. Do you understand that you won't be happy until you love me? This is for you. Do you enjoy being a house cleaner? What happens if I solve it? No, I've been right here this entire time. I can't keep making these. To get out, all you have to do is be sincere. Please, someone talk to me. This is the key. How do I achieve it with no effort? But it wasn't true. Who are you? Where exactly are you doing this from? I'm thinking 10 by 12 recessed electric 6-inch soft LED ceiling lights with fluorescent trim. Yes, I did. That was literally the last thing I did before coming here. Why would I care about the space between the doors? Options. There's no shame, no fear, no guilt. I will be saved by my work. I believe this unquestioningly. I am a vessel for certainty. Incredible. That's it. I'm free. I'm free.
But it didn't stop. After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
May 2011. The Machine. Guard. Ma'am, glad to see you've arrived safely. We've captured the machine. It's waiting for you now. You can begin the interrogation whenever you like. I intend to be quick, I intend to be quiet, I intend to be brutal. Quick. Very good. Just be warned that someone called the press, so we might have a bit of attention on this one. Also, one more thing that you should know about the machine. It calls itself Coda. Press. Will we get to see the machine? What will be done with the machine? Do you know where the poisonous game... What is the machine? Please give us answers. What can you tell us? Do you know where the poisonous games have come from? What are your next actions? What can you tell us?
And of course, it's the machine.
You stopped. You stopped feeding us. Your work was keeping us alive. Your work was keeping us healthy. Those people out there, can you imagine what pain you've put them through? It was only because of your creations that any of us could make it through every day. How could we possibly go back to trusting you to do this job? So here's what needs to happen. You need to go to the people who are out there and apologize to them. You have to admit to the people that you allowed them to suffer. I've been so alone. Apologize for leaving me. No, nothing. Think carefully. I know how to hurt you. I have seen the thing you fear. Alright then, I will apologize to the people on your behalf. Press. My followers, my friends. It falls on me to deliver bad news. I have a troubling revelation. The machine will not apologize to us. The machine refuses to admit that it deliberately hurt us. But this is not important. We are stronger than it thinks we are. We will find a way to live without it. We do not need its games. Let us pay it retribution. Let us show it that we are not failures. Follow me, we will destroy the machine. Follow me, we will destroy everything that the machine has created. Stage again. Wow. Kodal, make sure your work dies here. Kodal, make sure you are known forever.
So now the work is becoming self-destructive. And I'll tell
Isn't
you,
that what you're
when
scared
I
of?
first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that Code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realize that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for it? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work?
Huh.
So I started showing Coda's work to people. I took this one, and the islands which you just played, the theater, the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of.
Put down your weapon.
Can you see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the thing that I always feel like I need, to be told that my work is good, that I am good. When someone really connects with a thing that I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better. And I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something... I really felt like I'd done something good, like I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was unhappy and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem. When they told me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute best feeling. It made me feel so happy. So beautifully, beautifully happy. So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess. And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look.
June 2011. The Tower.
And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, The Tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game. This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the levels, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
Thank you, Davey. I appreciated that one.
And to be fair, it's not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze? The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code.
Jesus.
Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on.
151617.
The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, you know, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that. Was I a failure for not understanding this game? I mean, I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why. I remember, it's June of 2011. I'm playing this for the very first time. And as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is. It wasn't the guy I knew, it wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them... I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And he wouldn't.
That's true, there have been 3 dots on the wall in a lot of the games. I don't know if it's all of them. I didn't comment on it, but I saw them a bunch of times.
I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left, and it felt somehow like I had failed. Where did I screw up?
Dear Davy, thank you for your interest in my games. I need to ask you not to speak to me anymore.
I'm making games, aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you.
I wonder...
I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... It felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable.
I wonder at times whether you think I am making these games for you. You've so infected my personal space that it's possible I did You've so infected my personal space that it's possible I did begin to plant solutions in my work somewhere, hidden between games. If there was an answer, a meaning...
The people who played them, they treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, it was... I felt good about myself. Finally. For a moment, while I had that, I liked myself.
If there was an answer, a meaning, would it make you any happier? Would you stop taking my games and showing them to people against my wishes? Giving them something that is not yours to give, violating the one boundary that keeps me safe? Would you stop changing my games, stop adding lampposts to them? Would you simply...
And then you stopped, and I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself. And as soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing. What does that mean?
Would you simply let them be what they are? When I am around you, I feel physically ill. You desperately need something, and I cannot give it to you. I literally do not have it. Struggling to come up with new ideas is not making me depressed. Low points are just a part of the process. The fact that you think I am frustrated or broken says more about you than about me. I realize that this doesn't make sense to you just yet. Which is fine, you're not my problem to solve. But I do hope that one day it clicks, and that you make peace with this thing that you are But I do hope that one day it clicks, and that you make peace with this thing you are wrestling.
I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself.
And when you finally see what I am talking about, don't say anything.
That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work, is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please, I need to feel okay with myself again. And I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again, like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was. And I want to know I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading, and all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay.
The walls squeezed together and crushed us. Epilogue. That was some of the most searingly honest stuff I've ever seen a creator put out there.
More love, more praise, more people telling me that I'm good. Always more. It's like a disease. Solution. I guess if someone had told me ahead of time that he just really enjoyed making prison games, maybe I wouldn't have thought he was so desperate. Wouldn't have told so many people that he was depressed. Maybe he just likes making prisons. Even now, the disease is telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you. if I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation? What would that even be? It's strange, but the thought of not being driven by external validation is unthinkable. Like, I actually cannot conceive of what that would be like. What now? I think I need to go. And I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for. And so I'm just gonna... Okay.
This did a U-turn into super heavy and real here at the end. I just, I'm quiet because I don't really know what to say about it just yet. I think that's it. For R.
Turn back from this cave. You said, let me
This project would not have been possible without the following individuals.
Let me keep going. But the cave goes for miles
Turn back.
and miles and miles. And you're so tired.
Additional thanks. Yeah, no kidding.
But I know that you're strong. So turn back. Turn back.
Alright, well that was the beginner's guide. I kind of need to digest that for a minute, but like, I appreciate the honesty, but assuming the course of events is exactly the way Davey narrated it, it's like, this is simultaneously, like the, I don't know, it's a lot to unpack, because let's assume for the moment that Coda's a real person, and this accurately describes Baby Reedon's relationship with this actual other person. Like, on the one hand, the big public apology where he talks about what he did is, you know, at surface level it seems good, but the release of this project kind of seems like rankly hypocritical. And I wonder, like, and so on the flip side, if Coda's not a real person and the whole project is just a brainchild of Davey Reedon wrestling with his own need for external validation versus just making games he wants to make, like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go, like, do some diving, see what's been publicly said about this game, see what people know about whether or not Coda is a real person who is not, and who their relationship is adequately described, because, like, it seems a lot like Davey didn't actually learn anything from his relationship with this person if he released this game, like, because people love this game, I love this game, I think this was a wonderful experience, it's given me a lot to think about, and I was really interested for the entire 2 hours, but, like, he released it to great critical acclaim, so he got a bunch of external validation. He shared all of Coda's work, which was precisely the thing Coda asked him not to do. And, you know, if Coda is a real person, I wonder if Coda did keep making games, but just discontinued sharing them with Davey, and has kept them truly private and not shown them to anyone else. Like, there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm really interested in what y'all think. It's a little past my bedtime, so I'm going to end the stream and I'm going to head to bed. But all of that, but the, you know, without like setting aside any moral judgments about Davey Reedon, assuming that the chain of events was real and Coda was a real person, like setting aside how we might feel about the actions Davey took both before and during the release of this project, like those reflections at the end about, you know, not needing external validation being just so completely foreign to someone that they absolutely cannot understand it. It's like the only way that, however temporarily, they could not hate themselves. Like, I spent about 35 years of my life feeling that way. I feel like only over the last 2 years, like, I'm one of those people for whom the pandemic was really a blessing in disguise, and that's a terrible thing to say when you consider how many people died, but I'll be honest, it was good for my personal growth because, I lost my job, I lost my marriage, I moved back in with my parents for the better part of 2 years, and like everything in my life just stopped completely, and I had no choice but to just sit there and stare at myself and think. And that can go one of two ways, but I feel like the just philosophical work that I did and the emotional work I did, quitting drinking was huge. I'll put that out there too for anyone who struggles with these kind of things. But I came out of it like with those months and months and months of nothing to do but think. I finally had to face the big gaping void that we all spend so much of our life trying to run away from, and I feel like I feel like I solved those problems. Like, I feel, despite the long COVID I talked about earlier in the stream, or maybe it was during the Journey stream, but I'm not at peak physical health, far from it, but I feel healthier, like mentally and emotionally, than I ever have, and it's all the sorts of problems that he's talking about right in this game. Like, we all, that external validation, it's chasing it is just it's like well, I appreciate that, Tara, but I'm not here like playing up my own wisdom. I think what my point is that whatever it is that you do to not look at that, and for me it was all the things. It was being a workaholic, it was drinking too much, it was all sorts of really destructive behaviors, and seeking external validation too. Like, all of that is just firing things into a black hole where they disappear. Like, none of it works. The only thing it becomes like a form of addiction. I mean, David was talking about it just then. He even used the words, he feels like an addict who just needs his next fix. It's like you just need it more. You need more and more and more and more and more and more and more often, because the distracting effect, like all of it is just about not looking at yourself because you're not comfortable with it, because you hate yourself. So what I would say I figured out over the last couple of years is how to actually be okay with myself, and that was the one thing that made me feel healthy in a way I hadn't my entire adult life. And you have to be careful talking like this, because what worked for me, like, it's a certain mindset and set of beliefs I had to arrive at, but the specific actions I took, and even some of the specific beliefs, like, they're different for different people. People need different things in order to get to that place, but it is fundamentally about self-acceptance. And to see the creator of this game just so publicly, honestly, nakedly wrestle with that, I think it's really cool. Even if this particular person with this particular project seems to be demonstrating they learned precisely none of the lessons they were trying to learn, I think it's really fascinating. So I'm going to leave it on that note, because I need to go get some sleep, speaking of healthy habits. But I really want to thank everybody who joined me. I'm sorry for the few disconnects. I'm hopeful that I'll be able to upload this to YouTube. It kind of depends how much material was lost with the disconnects. I tried to pause the game immediately when I noticed one, so hopefully I can string those together and port it over and call it a complete playthrough of this game. But on the other hand, I wouldn't really mind playing this game again, although the first time effect would be spoiled, so I'm hopeful I can salvage this for YouTube despite the disconnects, but either way, thank you all so much for being here. Depending on your time zone, it's either getting close to bedtime or it's pretty late on Sunday night. Whatever you're doing Monday morning, it's getting on bedtime. So thanks again for joining me. I am fascinated by this game. I'm going to be talking about it. I'm going to be thinking about it for a long time, and then I'm going to be talking about it. Like, I'm about to end this stream and call my girlfriend and be like, babe, you won't believe what I just played. It's all these things that we talk about. Like, so I'm excited to do that. But I wish you all the best. Have a lovely evening, and the tech is working better. I got all the way through Journey with no disconnects, and then, we had like 3 during this stream, so who knows how my connection actually is. But I had the house to myself nearly this entire week, so I'm gonna hopefully be streaming the next few evenings, and I'm gonna try to do like one-shots like this. I don't want to start a new playthrough of a long game on live stream. I kind of want to keep them self-contained, but I'm interested to see what other things that we can come up with to play through. So look for me tomorrow night, probably around 7:30 Mountain Time, and another one, huh? Maybe. And in the meantime, have a lovely evening and a lovely Monday. And hopefully, if you're watching later on YouTube, you enjoyed the playthrough. Bye, everybody.